that we're going to discuss is the People's Convention. So the People's Convention was created by a group. I'm not gonna lie, I don't know 100%. The reason I know about the People's Convention is because, as many of you know, I follow leftist Twitter, and they were talking a lot about it, and there was kind of like live reviews about like, oh my God, blah blah blah, just killed it, oh boy, just killed it or whatever. But it's for a movements for a People's Party. They're the ones that created it, right? And it was a 5-hour block. Various speakers spoke up. And then I guess the biggest tie-in that I got, at least what I got from it, like I said, I really haven't completely researched what the actual movement for a People's Party was. But essentially what it was stemming down to is they were deciding, do they want to launch a brand new party, right? And that's, at the end, they said yes. So there was but the one great thing about it is there was a lot of amazing, to me, there was a lot of amazing speakers. And the thing that I liked the most about it was that they came from different backgrounds. They came from different areas. Maybe most of it was a little bit left, but there was different ones. Jesse the Body Ventura was on there. If I'm not mistaken, he's a libertarian. Michelle Williamson was on there. She's a Democrat, right?
I like how you said his name. Like, the Body is officially his middle name now.
It is. Isn't the parentheses part of his name too?
Yeah, it's like birth certificate or like
birth certificate and everything.
Legal
hey,
change. Jesse the Body Ventura.
Yeah. So Jesse the Body, or the Body, I just like to call him the Body. He was on there. Cornel West was on there, who is just, I honestly can listen to Cornel West at any time. I like hearing him talk. Nina Turner was on there, and various other ones. There's a good list of people on there. I can read a few names. There was somebody that Zino liked was Chang Sim Lim was on there. Danny Glover was on there. I didn't realize how political Danny Glover actually is. Turns out that he actually is very political. I don't know if you knew that.
I think I've seen him talk about something before.
Yeah, he's talked about a few stuff, right? And then just various different ones. So if you guys have an opportunity, look up the People's Convention 2020.
One thing about the People's Convention that intrigued me when you mentioned it to me is for a while now, I have a friend who's always talked about how like anytime something happens in politics, whether it's something in the State of the Union that someone said that's like very divisive, or on either side of the aisle, my friend always messages me and says, this is why I hate the two-party system, right? I myself, I'm a bit of a pragmatist in the sense that I know that the two parties that we have right now, the Democratic Party and the Republican Party, are so ingrained in the American psyche that it's going to be very hard for a viable third party to sprout up and actually displace them. But I do think that he makes a valid point about the two-party system being very caustic and just not helpful, right? Mm-hmm. Because you have people on two sides of different aisles never really trying to find some kind of solutions to problems that they have. So when you said the thing about the People's Convention, I was like, oh, this is actually pretty interesting. And I watched some of it. I didn't watch all of it. I did enjoy it. I did enjoy some of it. I have my criticisms of it, which we can get into. But I wanted to touch on the fact that yesterday I filmed our second ZZ Talk feature on Native American issues with another friend of mine. And one of the things we touched on was the fact that it seems like a lot of the issues dealing with Native Americans' rights or the lack of rights are issues that span across multiple administrations of both parties. Mm-hmm. And in having that conversation, I was thinking, if anyone should be in favor of displacing these two parties and getting a party that actually listens to those issues, it would be this guy and Native Americans and such. So there are definitely groups out there that are disaffected enough that something like the movement for a People's Party, I think that's what he called it, Something like that would be very attractive too. Right?
And if I'm not mistaken, I believe there was I think there was a person who spoke on Native American issues. There definitely was a person who spoke on Latino issues, which was I enjoyed his which was, I forget, I'm trying to look at it. I don't think it was, no, it wasn't Jerry Perez. So listen, if you have opportunity to look up the People's Convention, like it's if I'm off the top of my head, I think it was like 25 speakers who spoke, and it really was it was informative, and it was interesting, because the one thing that I liked about it was like Zeno was pinpointing, there was various different issues coming. Like, they spoke about various different things. They spoke about immigration. They spoke about the flaws of the two-party system. One person that attracted Zeno a lot was Sim Lim, who actually spoke on how it's hard to get certain progressive policies talked about, thrown on dockets. And I'll let Zeno, after he's done blowing his nose, to speak on that. And it was from different sides. You had, and the thing is, it wasn't, even though they were talking about a third party, basically, it wasn't where the people were. There were two of the biggest speakers said that they were going to vote for Joe Biden. Williamson and Cornel West did state that they were going to vote for Joe Biden. They spoke on the fact that I really liked Williamson's speech, even though a lot of people aren't, like I said, on the far left, they're kind of like saying that she's like, I forget the term that they use, but she's fake about it or something like that. But the way, when she spoke, I really did enjoy it, because she said it's important to have a third party, right? She did. Did you listen to her speech?
No, I've listened to her talk a lot, and honestly, I think on the debate stage, she seemed kind of kooky. But then when I've listened to her give interviews and stuff, I actually think she's like spot on about a lot of things. I just don't think you get enough time on the debate stage,
You know
especially
what
when
it
there's
is?
10 people there.
You remember when you talked about the Patriot Act, the show?
Mm.
And you spoke about what's his name?
Hassan Minaj.
Yeah, and I said that I like him. I like the things he says, but he's just all over the place. Like, he's like, this man, Williamson kind of has a little bit of that. I kind of get what you're saying. Not about the kooky. I think she was kooky, but just a little bit like.
No, go back and watch the primary debates. She was
No,
but it's also because you have such a limited amount of time when you have 10 people on stage.
And you can only do so much in that.
Yeah, you can expand on those big brain ideas that you're having to get people on board with what you're saying. So it just comes off like it's
too bad we didn't have this podcast when the debates happened, because I would have said there was one debate where they only had, I think, 3 or 4, opposed to having all 13. And I was like, that one works better. And I honestly think it should be like that, where they have 3 or 4, but not the main ones that they're trying to push as the main guys. Like in 2016, only putting Hillary and Bernie only, but do like Hillary with like 2 other people, Bernie with 2 other, you know what I'm saying? But that's not the case now. They just seem to. It's basically a train wreck that they want to put on stage, because it's.
But you know that would have caused so many problems if they did that. If they.
Yeah, I know, because then they're like, oh, you don't want to put them against each other. I'm like, well, you know what? You could do like freaking 5 of them, where you have her and him on a stage with another person. You know what I mean? Like, just do like different panels, but all the same people at the same time. But no, that would have created problems. But I said that was just kind of one of those the things that I didn't like about the debate. Yeah. And that's kind of like feeding onto the whole what you're saying about Williamson just not coming off 100% as intelligent as she is.
And this kind of goes back to it's a disagreement we had, but I think it's a useful point you made about why voting third party might be important. Having them have public funding for the subsequent election, and that funding helps them get on the debate stage. Mm-hmm. And one of the big reasons why some smaller parties might have some good ideas, but no one ever hears them, is because they don't get on national television on these debates, right? So it's something.
Unless you're a guy like Yang, who is already rich as hell, and he's able to basically buy his way on stage. And then, because the one thing I will say about Yang is he's got the UBI in everybody's mind now. Everybody has, even though he really hasn't explained exactly how to do it, but now it's ingrained in people's head that they're like, you know what, there should be a universal basic income. There's no reason why we're the richest country in the world and don't have a universal basic income. Same way where Bernie Sanders threw a lot more progressive issues back in 2016. He got him on the platform because he just made his voice be heard. So there's an importance for third party. But going back to Williamson, the thing about her that I enjoyed was how she explained, and this is kind of what I was saying with you. Remember I told you that at this time, I'm pretty certain I'm not voting for Biden, but I'm definitely not voting for Trump. Like, Trump is not an option, but Biden is a maybe or a maybe not. And I say maybe or maybe not because I don't know. When I go to that ballot box, I might just be like, damn it, I just cannot not vote. You know what I mean? I just can't do this. Maybe Zino was right with his bullshit saying that a vote for no one is a vote for Trump, you know. but you know, it's maybe that. But what she explained was like, look, I'm voting for Donald Trump because to me that's important right now.
I'm voting for Biden. You mean
Biden? I'm sorry, because she's like, I have to vote for Biden because I just can't give another 4 years to Trump. That's what she was saying. But she was also saying, but the time is now for you guys to demand a third party. So, and I don't think those were contradictory within themselves. She was explaining.
I don't think so either. I think there's a way you can demand a third party without freaking giving this guy another 4 years. And you know where you can do it? You could do it in California. All right. Biden doesn't need more votes in California. Biden is going to win California. So if you have, you know, doubts about Biden, vote third party there. Same thing in New York, but not where it's like potential battleground states.
Don't say Georgia. We're not a battleground.
Georgia.
We are not a battle. Oh my God, dude, we are not. We are Southern.
Georgia is lean red at best in this.
Hold on. I just had somebody call me boy outside, dog. They're conservative as hell. You know, it's just, no, man. God bless you. If you honestly believe, by the way, people, this is from episode 1. So if you guys want to go back and look at it, episode 1, we talk about the possibility of Georgia being a swing state. I still don't buy it. I do buy that Texas could be one because I did say that they have more hot spots, but I feel that there's too deep of a concentration. It's kind of like, you know, the whole popular vote.
Actually, I'm hearing that
got so many people from blue states to vote for her, but the red states still went to, you know, Trump, or the swing states went to Trump.
I'm hearing that Trump is actually making a lot of inroads with Hispanics. So
I don't get it.
There you go.
I don't know why. I really don't.
But so here's why I said, and we will have a longer segment that I hope to
keep teasing it.
That I hope to convince you of this, but. Here's why I said you not voting for Biden is essentially a vote for Trump, right? Is there any scenario in which you would vote for Trump?
No.
There it is. There it is. So the thing is, so you've got Trump and Biden, right? If you vote for Trump, that's +1 for Trump, right? And essentially -1 for Biden, right? It's like a net movement sort of thing. If you vote for Biden, that's +1 for Biden, -1 for Trump. If you don't vote for Biden, right, that is a vote that could have gone here, but never could have gone here. So in essence, this guy on the right has now said, well, I dodged the bullet because this vote definitely could have gone here, but it never could have gone here. That's why we say that yeah.
Hey, look, I'm putting out my presidential finger. And that's why Joe Biden is the one. You don't need to convince me to vote for Joe Biden. Joe Biden needs to convince me. And dude, he is not doing he's not doing anything to tell us vote for. I said his convention speech. I liked it. I did. I said it humanized him and it made me empathetic to him. I'm not going to lie. It made me somewhat empathetic to him. I still want to talk to Tara Reid. I'm just saying. Don't know 100% how he still has his shit that he needs to figure out. But
okay, hold on. Okay, so you're saying potentially the Tara Reid thing, but we're not gonna weigh that against the over a dozen similar complaints that Trump has.
I do not want to get you in trouble, but there isn't an honest vote for your favorite rapist. Like that. Come on.
No, your favorite alleged rapist. And honestly, no. I say it that way because honestly, based on what you're saying, right? Even though we've seen her accounts over the years, and it's the reason why no one is paying attention to it. And I'm not gonna malign her or whatever. I don't know her story, but the reason why people aren't paying attention to it is because the story has changed so much. So, but you're saying a vote for your favorite rapist, essentially because if one person just happens to say, and I'm not saying it, but someone says, "Hey Zeus, you raped me 2 years ago," without any sort of, like I say today, Zeus, you raped this girl 2 years ago, and I say it was in Dallas, Texas, and then tomorrow I say, Zeus, you raped this girl 2 years ago, same girl, it was in Austin, Texas, and like I give different accounts. It doesn't matter. The fact that I've said it means you're now an alleged rapist. I mean, I feel like there are degrees to this, right? Like there's got to be some sense of
I'm going to say something that one of my Twitter friends said.
Mm-hmm.
She still hasn't been debunked yet. She hasn't been debunked. And the thing is, he hasn't spoken on it. So the thing is, though, that's the one thing. But look, I don't want to get into this conversation because I honestly don't want to open up that type of hole into this conversation because it could lead to a lot of shit. It could lead to, and I don't mean us getting sued because I don't think any of the 28 subscribers we have is going to be her. But
if we get sued, that increases our subscribership.
Shut up.
Is that a word?
No. But look. But it's not even that. Let's go ahead and say that that's not even a part of it, right? It's the biggest fear that I have is, and I've said this many times, right? And apparently we're having this conversation. Afraid of, there's a lot of voters who the issues that you and I care about doesn't affect them.
Mm-hmm.
They might care about it right now, but it doesn't affect them, right? BLM, immigration rights. For me, wars. I'd really like for us to get the hell out of every single country that we're warring with, right? Droning and all that good stuff, because you know what? Donald Trump's still carrying it out. It's afraid that once we get rid of Trump because he is such a good villain, people go back into the shadows about these issues and don't give a damn about them. People don't care about them. It's not you and I, because you and I will care about them because they affect us. But there is a lot of people who, once they get rid of Trump, and then just don't get me wrong, I am not saying that that's an excuse to give us Trump. No, shut up. Because this is the thing though. When Joe Biden gets elected, what significant difference is he going to do from the last couple of decades of neoliberalism that we've had, that continue to build out Wall Street, who've allowed the bubble to burst in real estate, right? Now we're back in a freaking recession. Yeah, I get it. One guy got us out of it, but now we're back in the recession, right? What is it that they're going to do to stop this cycle?
No, I gotta stop you on that one. So you cannot conflate the housing bubble bursting with neoliberalism, as you put it, or liberal policies, because the housing bubble bursting can directly be tied back to a Republican president who wanted to roll back on regulations because we don't want to hamper businesses. They roll back on regulations that allow businesses and banks to give what they called subprime loans. Right?
Yeah, I get that.
Give loans to people who they knew couldn't pay it back.
But what happens once we get a Democratic president in there? How do they stop that shit?
It's what's happened every time. George Bush Sr. left us with a deficit. Clinton left with a surplus.
No, I get us getting
Junior
us out of this. No, I get that.
Obama left with a surplus.
Clinton got us out of a deficit, yeah, and then people forgot and they decided to vote George Bush in because they're like, oh well, we're good now. Let's go ahead and vote this dumbass in. They got us in. He got us into the recession. Obama got us out. Now we got Trump. Now we're in a quiet recession because some people don't even realize that we're in a recession.
Right. So the point I'm making, right, is there is this temptation to make it seem like Democrats and Republicans are all the same, or they're two sides of the same coin. Even if they are two sides of the same coin, it's not heads and heads. It's not tails and tails. It's heads and tails. They are still different sides, right? And the fact of the matter is, on certain policies, especially economic policies, there are demonstrable differences between both parties. So if the economy is demonstrable, so if the economy is what you care about, there's no way you can say Democrats and Republicans are the same, because they aren't. We've seen it over the last 40 plus years that Democrats and Republicans are not the same. One party always leaves us with a deficit. The other always leaves us with a surplus.
I get that. And real quickly to all of our listeners, if you are in the stock market, I was told by one of my old managers, as soon as the Republicans vote in, you need to go switch over to bonds. And then when a Democrat comes in, that's when you switch back over to going into the market. Because that's what he did. He says he switched over to bonds because he's like, anytime that a Republican president happens, he loses money in his 401k. So he switched over to bonds. And he said that actually helped him. So, no, look, I get that. I really do. But the problem is, the policies that they use to correct this stuff, right? It doesn't 100% benefit us. It doesn't benefit us enough. It really doesn't. Because you bail out Wall Street, but you still have people having to file for bankruptcy. There wasn't enough protections for bankruptcies. There wasn't enough protection to keep people out of debt. There were still kids killing themselves because of the fact that, the loan sharks would come out after, not loan sharks, not like actual, like, I'm not talking about like, New York loan sharks, but like,
right.
You have these people, you have these companies, pulling out, getting these kids into credit card debt off the bat. And it's just, there isn't enough, there are policies that are created. And I honestly don't blame the politicians that much as I would say the media. Because I honestly feel like if you go back to a lot of the problems that we had, actually the media has started catering it. So for example, one of the reasons why the Vietnam War was so unpopular was because they showed dead bodies. They showed all the dead bodies of Americans being shipped back. And that's what turned the tide on the Vietnam War, because this was the very first televised war that we had ever had, right? Where it was like, but look what happened with Iraq. Yeah, we see them, but we're a little bit desensitized to them because it's just the way they show them. It's not.
Man, do I have thoughts about the Iraq War? I don't. Actually, let's talk about that in a second, because since it is 9/11, I feel like it is something we should talk about. But I just want to leave on one thing. What I've heard from you is basically the Democrats did stuff to try to bail us out, to get us from the recession that Bush is leaving us with, but they didn't do enough because they didn't take care of the little guy. They built out Wall Street, but the man on the street, Main Street, still suffers.
And you know what? You know who I hate to give him credit for this? Well, actually, I don't give him credit. Screw him, because he rolled those back. But I remember, because he did. Reaganomics is the single most, honestly, probably the single most destructive thing that has ever happened to our country in regards
to down.
But when he went into office, if I'm not mistaken, I read it somewhere. It was around, I think the top 1% was getting taxed at like 61, maybe even 90%.
When Reagan went into office?
When Reagan came into office.
Probably true.
And that's when we were doing great, because the guy, then because it started happening during the Brand New Deal, is when that started getting implemented. And I could definitely research that a little bit more to correct that if that's the case. But the taxes were this high, and it's been shown that the higher when you look at Jeff Bezos alone. Imagine if we only taxed Jeff Bezos, Mark Zuckerberg, and Bill Gates, just those three at 1% over what they've made during this pandemic.
So, I think when we talk about the economy and stuff, this is probably one of those few areas where I might come off as a Republican. And I'll tell you why. I definitely believe in higher taxes for the rich.
Oh, I thought you were about to say, I definitely believe in people need to pull themselves up by their bootstraps.
Yeah. Your non-existent bootstraps. No, I definitely believe in higher taxes for the rich. I think anyone who doesn't believe that is dumb. I'm sorry to say. I was trying to think of an elegant word, but no.
Look, it's like Michael Moore said in his book, "Dude, Where's My Country?" You're never going to be that rich.
Yeah, exactly.
So stop thinking you are.
So my thing is, right, and I think Elizabeth Warren said it really well, right? And this is actually one of the reasons why I started supporting her during the primaries. She said that taxes on the rich shouldn't be viewed as punishing success, right? It should be seen as, and I think Pete Buttigieg also kind of like piggybacked on it too. It should be seen as, the reason you got to this level of wealth and success is because of workers that were supplied to you through American education. It's because of the roads that lead to your offices and all that stuff that are paved with American taxpayer dollars. It's because of so many different factors that the American government puts money towards that you are able to achieve the success that you wouldn't be able to achieve in some other countries, in probably any other country. So because you have reached these heights, you sort of have a duty to give back a little more than those who haven't reached those heights. That being said, I don't agree with, okay, you are a billionaire, you now need to get taxed 70%. I think that is kind of ridiculous. I really do. I think basically that's 700 million of your billion needs to go to the government. I get pissed when I get taxed, when I look at my paycheck and like 40 something percent has come off. Imagine it being 70%. I think that is a little ridiculous.
I will give you a counterpoint to that from an actual billionaire who doubts Donald Trump being a billionaire.
Okay.
Mark Cuban said, because I remember he was on Politically Incorrect, which I tend not to watch because I'm just not.
Wait, you mean Real Time?
Real Time, yeah. I'm sorry. Politically Incorrect is that. Speaking of which, he actually that show got canceled because of something he said after 9/11. But Cuban was on Real Time and he said, I think it was Bill who asked him, if you got taxed at this, would you notice it? And he made a joke, and then he later on said, he was like, man, I would not notice if I think he said like an extra million or 10 million or something like that. If he had an extra, or maybe he might even said billion. He said, if you take this much money away from it, I'm not even going to freaking notice it. Now, I said 1%. I'm being nice. And I'm saying that tax him at an extra 1%.
Yeah, no, I'm fine with extra 1%. Even Elizabeth Warren was saying something about an extra 2% for every dollar made over 50 million, right? So like after 50 million, everything else is another 2% extra in taxes.
I really wish that there would be a politician who would pull a Bernie Sanders and bully Jeff Bezos. Because you heard about that, right? Where Bernie Sanders basically bullied him into giving either it was healthcare or raising the minimum wage for his workers in Amazon, because he just kept drilling him about it, and then eventually it was like announced that Jeff Bezos raising the minimum wage to blah blah blah. I wish there was somebody who would introduce a bill and they literally would call it the Bezos bill. Find a way to make the BEZOS stand for something like they always tend to do. Because I didn't know the Patriot Act stood for something.
Yeah,
Patriot stood for something, but. Find something just to call it the Bezos Act where they basically target him and tax him at this particular percentage. Because guess what? There's never going to be another person who's going to be making as much money as Jeff Bezos. I don't see it. Do you see another $200 billion person out there?
Yeah, Musk. Somehow. Elon Musk do it.
Elon Musk.
Yeah. All right. Look, I think we've beaten. I don't even remember what
We
issue
didn't
we
even
talked
talk.
about.
We only talked about we barely talked about the People's Convention.
Yeah.
Probably, if you get a chance, look at it. Definitely listen to Nina Turner's
We'll,
speech.
we'll
I
link
love
it. We'll link it in the description below.
definitely. Did you listen? Did you listen to Cornell or Nina at all?
No, I'll go back and I'll
By
watch
the
it.
way, people, that's the ones that I told him to go listen to. I said go all the way to the end and make sure you listen to Cornell West and Nina Turner. But I think you would like it. I actually do want you to watch those 3 speeches so we could discuss those. So on the next episode, discuss those 3 speeches because I'm just forcing him to watch it now. So anyways.